Something is heading toward our solar system, and it's accelerating. 3IATLAS, the third confirmed interstellar object ever detected by humanity. But unlike ʻOumuamua or Borisov, this one isn't just passing through. It's on a collision course with a gravitational encounter so massive it could change everything we know about physics. My name is Michio Kaku. I'm a theoretical physicist, professor of physics at the City University of New York, and I've spent my entire career studying the fundamental laws that govern our universe. String theory, quantum mechanics, the nature of space and time itself. I've written books about the future of humanity. I've theorized about alien civilizations and their technology. But I never thought I'd be standing here telling you that everything I've theorized might be about to become reality. Because something is heading toward our solar system right now, and what happens in the next 18 months could change human history forever. The object is called 3IATLAS, the third confirmed interstellar visitor ever detected by humanity. But let me be absolutely clear about something. This is not like ʻOumuamua. This is not like Borisov. Those objects passed through our solar system and left. They were tourists. But 3IATLAS, it's not just passing through, it's maneuvering. And I need you to understand what that means. Right now, at this exact moment, 3IATLAS is traveling at over 200,000 kilometers per hour through the darkness between stars. That's fast enough to circle our entire planet 5 times in a single hour. But here's what keeps me awake at night. According to every gravitational model we have, every equation I've worked with for decades, this object should be slowing down. It's climbing out of the sun's gravity well. Physics says it must decelerate, but it's not. In fact, detailed measurements from the Hubble Space Telescope and ground-based observatories around the world show something that violates our basic understanding. It's speeding up. I was the first scientist with a significant platform to publicly address this anomaly, and I didn't do it lightly. I've built my reputation on being careful with claims, on following the evidence wherever it leads. And the evidence here is screaming at us. This object is exhibiting non-gravitational acceleration. That's the technical term. What it means in plain language is that something other than gravity is pushing it. Something is propelling this object. Either it's outgassing like a comet, releasing jets of vapor that act like tiny rocket engines, or it's being moved by technology we don't understand. We've done the spectroscopic analysis. Multiple teams, multiple telescopes, different methodologies, all reaching the same conclusion. There is no outgassing, no vapor trails, no sublimating ice, no chemical signature of any natural propulsion. So we're left with the other option. And when a physicist who has spent 50 years studying the laws of nature tells you we might be looking at alien technology, you should pay very close attention. Let me explain what's about to happen. In approximately 18 months, 3IATLAS will pass through a region of our solar system that I've been studying intensely. It's a gravitational crossroads, a place where the massive gravity fields of Jupiter and Saturn, combined with the sun's influence, create an incredibly complex web of forces. Orbits bend there. Velocities change dramatically. We call it a multi-body interaction zone. I call it nature's particle accelerator. And 3IATLAS is heading straight into it with surgical precision. Now, here's what makes this absolutely extraordinary. I've run the calculations myself. I've had my graduate students verify them. I've consulted with colleagues at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. The trajectory of this object threads through this gravitational maze with an accuracy that should not be possible by chance. If it deviates by just a few thousand kilometers, in any direction, it gets flung out of our solar system at a random angle, lost forever in interstellar space. But the current path? It positions 3IATLAS for a perfect gravity assist that will accelerate it toward the inner solar system, toward Earth's orbital plane, toward us. I calculated the probability of this happening by random chance. The number I got was so small it's essentially zero. We're talking about winning the cosmic lottery 1 billion times in a row. This trajectory is not an accident. It's a flight plan. For years, I've theorized about how advanced civilizations might travel through space. In my books, in my lectures, I've talked about Type 2 and Type 3 civilizations on the Kardashev scale. Civilizations that can harness the energy of their entire star, or even their entire galaxy. And I've always said that such civilizations wouldn't waste energy fighting against gravity. They would work with it. They would use the natural gravitational architecture of space as highways, cosmic freeways, where you gain speed by carefully navigating through gravitational fields, using stars and planets like a pinball machine uses bumpers. It's the most efficient way to travel across interstellar distances. You don't need massive fuel reserves. You don't need to carry impossible amounts of energy. You just need exquisite mathematical precision and the ability to plot your course millions of miles and millions of years in advance. It's beautiful physics, pure celestial mechanics, elevated to an art form. And I think that's exactly what we're witnessing with 3IATLAS. If this object is deliberately using our solar system's gravitational architecture to modify its trajectory, and all the evidence suggests it is, then we're not looking at a rock. We're not looking at space debris. We're observing a spacecraft executing a pre-programmed maneuver that was designed possibly millions of years ago by an intelligence with a deep, sophisticated understanding of gravity and orbital dynamics. Let me tell you about the object itself, because the more we learn, the stranger it becomes. It's roughly 230 meters across, about the size of a large stadium, and it's tumbling through space, but not the way natural objects tumble. Natural asteroids and comets rotate consistently. They're shaped by billions of years of collisions and gravitational forces into relatively uniform, predictable spins. But 3IATLAS rotates on multiple axes simultaneously, and those axes change. The rotation pattern shifts periodically, as if the object is adjusting its orientation, as if it's steering itself. When my colleagues and I analyzed the spectroscopic data, we found something that shouldn't exist. The surface composition doesn't match anything we've ever seen. The ratios of elements are wrong. There's an excess of rare isotopes that typically only form in the most violent events in the universe. Supernova explosions, neutron star collisions. These materials should be scattered across space, not concentrated in one object. Unless someone gathered them deliberately, unless someone processed them, unless someone built something. But here's what really captured my attention. The reflectivity of 3IATLAS changes. And I'm not talking about normal variation as it rotates. I'm talking about the entire surface brightening and dimming in a coordinated pattern. The albedo, the measure of how much light it reflects, shifts uniformly across the whole object every 37 hours like clockwork. I've seen a lot of strange astronomical phenomena in my career. I've studied pulsars and quasars and black holes, but I've never seen anything like this. It looks like a signal, a lighthouse beam sweeping through space, something announcing its presence to anyone who's watching. When I pointed this out in a lecture last month, a journalist asked me what I thought it was signaling. I told him the truth. I don't know, but if I had to guess, it's either a navigation beacon, helping the object track its position relative to known stars, or it's a message, a deliberate attempt to communicate. And if it's a message, we need to figure out what it's saying before this object completes its gravitational encounter and potentially changes course directly toward us. My team traced the trajectory backward. We wanted to know where 3IATLAS came from. When you plot the path of an interstellar object in reverse, accounting for the gravity of every star it passed, you can determine its origin point. And what we found disturbed me deeply. 3IATLAS came from the direction of a region in space associated with a local bubble, a cavity in the interstellar medium carved out by ancient supernova explosions. But more specifically, its trajectory points back to a stellar nursery where thousands of stars are forming, a region where planetary systems are being born right now. The implications are staggering. If 3IATLAS originated from or passed through a star-forming region, it might be part of a larger network. Think about it. If you're an advanced civilization and you want to explore the galaxy, you don't send probes to random stars. You send them to regions where new planetary systems are forming, where life might emerge in the future. You plant seeds of observation that will watch those systems develop over millions of years. There's something else. When we examined archived telescope data from the past 50 years, we found evidence that 3IATLAS might have passed through our solar system before. Faint traces in old photographic plates from the 1980s and 1990s. Unidentified objects noted in survey catalogs, but never followed up on because we didn't have the technology to track them properly. The orbital calculations suggest this might be the third or fourth time this object has visited us. It's not a random passerby, it's a repeat visitor. And each time it comes back, it adjusts its orbit slightly, getting closer, coming deeper into the solar system, as if it's studying us, learning about us, preparing for something. I want to be very clear about something. I am not saying this is definitely alien technology. Science requires evidence. And while the evidence is compelling and deeply anomalous, we don't have definitive proof yet. What I am saying is that we need to treat this possibility with the seriousness it deserves. We need to mobilize our best instruments, our best minds. We need to study this object with everything we have before it completes its gravitational encounter and potentially does something we're not prepared for. I've been in communication with colleagues at NASA, the European Space Agency, and space agencies around the world. We're coordinating an unprecedented observation campaign. Every major telescope will be pointed at 3IATLAS during its closest approach. The James Webb Space Telescope, the Very Large Telescope in Chile, radio telescopes spanning 3 continents. We're analyzing every wavelength of light, every possible signal. We're looking for any sign of artificial structure, any hint of technology, any evidence that this is more than just a rock from beyond the stars. But here's what worries me most. Even if we confirm this is artificial, even if we prove beyond doubt that we're looking at alien technology, what then? Humanity has no protocols for this situation, no unified plans, no coherent response strategy. We're fragmented into competing nations, each with their own interests and agendas. If this object is a probe sent by an advanced civilization, how do we respond? Do we try to communicate? Do we remain silent? Do we prepare defenses? We're not ready for this. Politically, socially, psychologically, we are absolutely not ready. I've spent years writing about the physics of advanced civilizations, theorizing about their capabilities, speculating about their technologies. But theory is comfortable. Theory is abstract. Theory happens in textbooks and conference rooms. This is real. There is an object in our solar system right now that appears to be under intelligent control, and in 18 months it will complete a gravitational maneuver that could bring it significantly closer to Earth. And we have no idea what its intentions are. None whatsoever. Some of my colleagues think I'm being too dramatic. They say it's probably just an unusual asteroid with properties we don't fully understand yet. Natural explanations we haven't thought of. Exotic ice compositions. Strange mineral formations. And maybe they're right. I genuinely hope they're right. But I've looked at the data from every angle I can conceive. I've run the numbers through every model we have. I've examined this problem using 5 decades of accumulated knowledge, and everything points to the same disturbing conclusion. This object's behavior is not consistent with natural processes. What keeps me up at night is the question of why. Why would an advanced civilization send a probe to our solar system? The easy answer is exploration, scientific curiosity. They're doing what we do, sending probes to interesting star systems to study them. But that raises another question. What makes our solar system interesting? We're not particularly special. Average star. Standard planetary configuration. Unless there's something here they want to observe, something that recently became worth watching. Our radio broadcasts have been leaking into space for over a century now. Our first radio transmissions from the early 1900s have spread out in an expanding sphere, now over 100 light-years in radius. Any civilization within that bubble knows we're here. They know we have technology. They know we're intelligent. But radio waves alone might not be enough to trigger interest. What really announced our presence was nuclear weapons. The Trinity test in 1945, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The thousands of nuclear tests conducted during the Cold War, each one released a distinctive radiation signature that would be detectable across interstellar distances. A clear marker of a technological species that's reached the atomic age. That might have been the trigger. The moment we proved we could manipulate matter at the nuclear level. The moment we became worth sending a probe to investigate. If that's true, then 3IATLAS might have been launched decades ago, maybe in the 1950s or 60 seconds. It's been traveling through space for 50 or 60 years, crossing the light years between their system and ours. And it's arriving now because that's how long the journey takes. They detected our nuclear signatures. They calculated we were becoming technologically mature. They sent something to take a closer look, and that something is about to arrive. There's another possibility I need to mention, even though it ventures into territory that makes me uncomfortable. What if this isn't an exploratory probe? What if it's a warning device? An automated sentinel placed in systems with emerging technological species to monitor their development? What if it's been here much longer than we think, dormant in the outer solar system, watching and waiting? And what if our recent technological advances, our nuclear capabilities, our space programs, our artificial intelligence development triggered it to wake up and report back? Think about it from their perspective. If you're an advanced civilization trying to maintain stability across thousands of star systems, you need early warning about species that might become threats or competitors. You can't monitor every system personally, so you deploy autonomous probes, millions of them, spread across the galaxy, each one programmed to watch for specific markers of technological development. And when those markers are detected, the probe activates, confirms the intelligence level of the species, and reports back to its creators. 3IATLAS could be that kind of probe. Its repeated visits might not be random. Each pass could be a checkpoint, measuring our progress. The first visit in the 1980s when we developed space shuttles and personal computers. Another in the 1990s when the internet emerged. Now, in an era of AI and quantum computing and plans to colonize Mars, each time the probe comes closer, gathers more data, assesses whether we're ready for contact, or whether we're a problem that needs to be addressed. I know how this sounds. I know it borders on paranoia, but I'm a scientist. I deal in possibilities. And this possibility, however uncomfortable, fits the observed facts better than the assumption that we're looking at a lucky rock. The gravitational encounter will occur in exactly 18 months from now. I've marked the date on my calendar. I've set up alerts. I've coordinated with observatories around the world to ensure we have continuous coverage. That's our deadline. That's when we'll know for certain. When 3IATLAS passes through that complex gravitational field created by Jupiter, Saturn, and the Sun, one of three things will happen. First possibility: the object gets flung out of the solar system at a random angle, following purely ballistic trajectories determined by gravity alone. If that happens, we can breathe a sigh of relief. It was just an asteroid, an unusual one, but natural. Our imaginations got the better of us. Second possibility: the object breaks apart under gravitational stress. The tidal forces in that region of space are enormous. If 3IATLAS is a loosely bound collection of ice and rock, it could be torn to pieces. Again, that would confirm it's natural. Disappointing from a scientific perspective, but safe. Third possibility, and this is what I'm preparing for: the object successfully navigates the encounter. It doesn't break apart despite the stresses. It doesn't follow a random ballistic trajectory. Instead, it executes a precise gravity assist maneuver, adjusting its course with mathematical perfection, and continues deeper into our solar system on a new trajectory that brings it closer to Earth. If that happens, we have our answer. We know beyond any reasonable doubt that we're not alone. That something out there built this object and sent it here deliberately. I'm preparing for that third possibility. I'm working with international teams to develop communication protocols. We're designing messages based on universal mathematical principles: prime numbers, the periodic table, fundamental constants of physics, ways to demonstrate that we understand the universe, that we're intelligent, that we're ready for dialogue. But I'm also realistic. If they're advanced enough to send objects across interstellar space with this level of precision, they probably know everything about us already. They've likely intercepted our radio and television broadcasts. They've analyzed our internet traffic. They've studied our languages, our cultures, our history, our conflicts. We're the ones in the dark here. They hold all the information, all the power, all the choices. What I want you to understand is that we're living through a potential turning point in human history, a moment that will echo through the centuries. Either as the time we confirmed we're alone in a vast, empty cosmos, fortunate enough to witness an interesting interstellar asteroid, or as the moment we learned we're part of something much larger. A galactic community that's been aware of us long before we knew they existed. In 18 months, we'll know which reality we inhabit, the lonely one or the crowded one. And I can tell you, as someone who has devoted their entire life to understanding the cosmos, who has looked deep into the mathematics of existence itself, I believe we're about to discover we're not alone. The evidence is too compelling, the anomalies too consistent, the trajectory too perfect. 3IATLAS is coming. It's accelerating when physics says it should slow down. It's maneuvering when it should be drifting. It's signaling when it should be silent. And in 18 months, When it threads through that gravitational needle with impossible precision, it's going to show us exactly what it's capable of. It's going to prove that intelligence exists beyond Earth, that we're being watched, that we've always been watched, and that our cosmic childhood is ending. I hope humanity is ready for that revelation. But looking at our divided world, our competing interests, our inability to cooperate even on existential threats we can see clearly, I know we're not ready, not even close. But ready or not, the encounter is coming. The timeline is set, and in 18 months, everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe might change forever. This is Michio Kaku, and I'll be watching the skies.